We're crushing it right now with our college basketball picks. We are at 75% correct on the year. We've got 3 more picks that we're giving out today. And let's take a quick look. We're gonna talk about the games that we're discussing today, but let's take a quick look on how we did on the weekend. We hit on Auburn minus 4.5 versus Kentucky. We connected on Alabama plus 3.5 versus Tennessee. And then finally, Florida minus 8.5 versus Texas A&M. We were able to secure that one. The overall, as you can see here on the screen, we are 18-6. Their college basketball bets since we started. 22-11 overall. 22-11-1 overall. Good for 66.7% since we started giving out these picks on this channel. Most of the success has been coming from college basketball, and with a relatively weak slate of games on this Monday, leaning into the 3 decent college basketball games before the regular season ends. It's going to be a little sad when we're done with this college basketball season because, man, we are just smoking these. We're hitting all these. We're ripping it from 3, and we're sinking all of them like Steph Curry out here. Let's get the first game. Kansas at Houston, minus 9.5. I am taking in this game, and you need to take Houston to cover, minus 9.5. We have leaned heavily into Houston this season, and they have very recently, this past stretch, these past few weeks, they have been a consistent team for us, and we continue to lean on the teams that have provided us with consistency. Teams that cover are the teams that you need to bet on. Houston is 16-13 against the spread this year. Kansas 12-17 against the spread. So that to me is the biggest indicator of why I like Houston to cover at home. Houston plays really well at home. They're the best defensive team in the country against a Kansas team that has been incredibly inconsistent. Houston's the number 1 team in terms of points allowed. Kansas's offense has been up and down, especially in these top premier matchups like this. And I think one of the strongest indicators too, we love to discuss 3-point shooting for a lot of these picks. 3-point shooting, it is hard to come by. So when we have a massive gap between 3-point shooting success, we are going to go with it. Houston is 3rd in the country in 3-point shooting, 3-and-D all day. Kansas, 168th in the country. So I don't foresee Kansas playing well enough on offense against this incredibly physical and stout defense that they're going to be able to keep it in range, especially if they can't lean into their 3-point shooting late if this thing starts to get out of hand. So Houston covering, winning by more than 10 points. Next matchup, UCLA has been on a heater lately, and they're favored by 3 traveling to Northwestern. And we're going to take UCLA in this situation. Now, I was a little wary at first, and I was trying to do a little bit of digging and like really think about how is this UCLA team when they're on the road and they're traveling by having to go large distances to play in these Big Ten games. And Mick Cronin's complained about this multiple times, having to go on the road, having to travel cross country. Chicago's not that close of a flight. I've had to do this many times when I was living in LA. I flew to Chicago 3-4 times, and it's not a super quick flight. That travel is a pain in the ass. But I still feel very, very good about UCLA. Just for a little bit of context for how UCLA does against the spread as an away team, they're 4-5-0. So it's not a great record, but it's not bad enough for me to ignore the fact that they are 7-2-1 in the last 10 games. They're one of the hottest teams, or hotter teams rather, in college basketball for this final push at the end of the year. And Northwestern is only 4-6 against the spread in their last 10. Northwestern has been a complete dud. So I'm going with the Bruins. I think that they're going to be able to win this game by more than 3 points on the road. The last one here. This one's a little bit risky because of how big the spread is. Wake Forest at Duke. Duke is favored by 20.5 points. 20.5 points. That is currently the line on BetOnline. I was about to give out Wake Forest to cover because that margin is so huge, but it's a trap. Some pretty good reasoning that we can stand by this. Duke is 19-10 against the spread on the year. Sure, that's awesome. One of the best covering teams in basketball because they've played a sloppy, weak ACC schedule, and they've smoked a ton of teams. But Duke is 7-5 when they're favored by 20.5 or more points. So they're covering strongly in these situations when they're favored by significant margins. And when we look deeper into this, we compare these two teams, the two things that we love to talk about. I mentioned at the beginning, we love talking about three-point shooting, and we also love to talk about rebounding. Duke is 24th in the country in total rebounds per game. Wake Forest is 281. Wake Forest is 357 in three-point shooting. Duke is 10th. This is one of those situations where Duke, they've had success covering against the spread by 20.5 or more points, where they will cover, and they should cover. Again, a little bit of a risky pick there, but I think that we're going to be able to connect on this one because Duke, again, has been another one of those reliable teams going up against a shaky Wake Forest squad. Folks, let me know in the comments below, who else are you betting on? Hit that like button and subscribe, and we will talk to you later.